Hello and welcome to the demonstration. For this month's flower of the month, we are looking at the Clematis die set, and it is a really gorgeous flower of the month we have to share with you. Let me show you some of the beautiful finished samples from our design team. Just take a look at this. The lovely soft quality of this beautiful bloom just is perfect for adorning the cards. And here what Louise has done has chosen to use one of the edge dies, then cut away at the front of the card design and frame one of her Clematis flowers here as well, adding in the smaller ones, adding in the builder bouquet as well to really extend the look of that design. What about creating something which is more of a home decor piece? Perhaps you want something that looks like you've just gone along and picked a whole bouquet from your garden here. Using that construction acetate of a base, I think this is just gorgeous. It really is so full and lovely. Having the ability to cut the reflection artwork for these beautiful die sets over and over again, it really opens up a world of creativity because you can actually cut as many and layer as many as you would like with this. Just beautiful. Or what about going all out and creating something which is more like a sculpture, something really, really gorgeous in design, perhaps something for your mantelpiece, perhaps something for your windowsill. Just take a look at this. Look how that die cut has been cut and layered several times to create this wonderful crescent that we've got going around the side. That artwork just tucked in, using different sizes of the Clematis, using that builder bouquet to extend the feel of the floral design. And that's something that's really key to note, because we're going from something which cuts like this in a nice two-dimensional feel, and then layering it over and over again to create this whole crescent shape. Of course, then you can add to this with your other die cuts from your previous two Red Robins collections, our little bunny to the foreground here, things like the beautiful thrush nestled into those florals as well, and then topping that all with our little sparrow chick as well. Just glorious. So what we're going to take you through in this demonstration is how to create a bouquet by layering and detailing your different elements. What I've done, I've got pre-cut in front of me, lots of different die cuts of the florals. I'm going to bring them into shot just so you can see how I then lay them out and how we then utilize those as a demonstration piece as well. And I'm going to be working on a piece of black cardstock. I felt the black really made the colours pop, but of course if you're doing this at home, you can then change this concept up to work with whatever sort of design you want it to be. So it could be white card, it could be coloured card, it could be patterned, it could be whatever you like. I tend to lay out as many die cuts as I have around my artwork. That means as I'm crafting, I'm not having to then stop and cut something else to add in a layer. I've got everything ready to go in front of me. And talking about being ready to go, let's grab one of our florals. Now, of course, something like this is going to look just simply exquisite, layered to the front of a card. That's all you need. Perhaps if you wanted to, you could come in and decoupage a few of the flowers, add in a little sentiment down here, or maybe to the top here, and that could be a card blank in its own right. But say we wanted to extend this, say we wanted to add in more detailing. If you've watched me do demonstrations before, you'll know I always say come in and shape your leaves with your pokey tool. Use your thumb and forefinger just to round off those leaf designs. Similarly, with your petals here, look to the way that they would grow in nature. So you'd have them coming out and around the centre of the flower, and maybe we tweak back some of the little tips of the florals here as well. So already you're lifting that from the background of the card and you're giving it more dimension. Again, that could be a finished card piece in its own right. But say we wanted to start extending this. This is where things like the additional colourways that are purchasable from our website Highlight Crafts really come into play, because we can take them and extend the look. Even if we were just placing behind, you could start creating that curve that you've seen Louise use on that lovely sculptural piece that she's included in her design. Come in again and just follow the line of the curve round, and look how you could be creating something really dramatic as perhaps a full wreath. You could keep going and have them overlapping and overlaying, continuing that round to create a whole wreath design. I think something like that would look absolutely spectacular. Let's just draw in a couple of other colours around. You see how we're working that wreath all the way around, just repeating that same pattern all the way through. For this one, I think let's go in with just a couple to extend it up the line of the card here, and then perhaps add in a few of the details from the smaller sets as well. So to keep it within the realms of our A4 sheet here, let's trim into this, because don't forget, with all of the die cut images from Two Red Robins, you've got plenty of cut line detail that we can go in, use our scissors to just trim around, taking out just sections of the little flowers here, and utilize just areas. So you don't even have to use the whole die as is. We can come in and really make these our own as well. Perhaps you want to keep that little flower in. Again, it's totally up to you how you want to craft with these. So just moving the scissors around the whole piece, trimming that out, just to create different looks to our flower designs here. So what I'm doing here is just trimming away all the green, leaving myself with the florals. Anything that I'm cutting away could absolutely go in my stash for another day, or perhaps I might even utilize it in the demonstration by adding a little bit of greenery too. Nothing's ever wasted. We can always come back and use these elements too. Once again, before we stick anything, let's just shape and pull those petals forward. And then we can tuck them behind the first layer just as a little piece to start introducing you to further layers. Maybe we do something similar with the pinks within this one, but keep maybe a few little leaves instead. Using our scissors, again, just twisting and turning the reflection artwork there as we cut through the cut line details, just around the edge of these petals, just to snip sections away. And having that control over placement, having that control over the design, there's something very, very satisfying about being the one who has creative control over the finished look of your card. Yes, these cut beautifully as they are, but it also gives you a huge amount you can then come in and play with to add in further detail. This time around, we kept a few of the florals and we kept one of the leaves, so we can twist and turn that. And just by popping that behind, you've now extended that piece from this size and grown that clematis up through like so. Once we're happy with the sort of concept, the sort of layout design, we can begin sticking. Now, to retain shaped feel, the sort of more three-dimensional feel to the florals, what I'd recommend is coming in with something like pin flare glue gel, three-dimensional glue gel, which when it dries, it retains the shape and the height that you're giving it. But it also gives you a little bit of wiggle room. So here, where we're placing this down, it means if we come in and change our mind slightly towards the end, we can just nip things in and change things about. If you prefer working with foam pads, it's absolutely fine. It is personal preference. For me, I do like the glue gel because it just allows me to come in and change things up should I wish to. Now here, I'm just looking for placement. I want that sort of more straight up feel, but I don't want it to interfere with any of the little gaps that we have behind these other blooms. We can obviously go in and just tweak these a little bit, but just nestling those over so they overlay one another perfectly looks really lovely. Coming in with that other piece that we cut away, again, a little bit of glue gel just behind those florals there, just lifting and tucking as well, like so. Okay, so now you've got this kind of little bit of a twist to it, but it's just there in placement design. I'm tucking anywhere where I've cut away behind the die cut images as well, just so everything's neat and tidy. Now is the time to step back and just having a look at your piece. This could do with coming down ever so slightly. So just looking to where we've laid our designs, just making sure we haven't got any glue exposed, because what we want to do is finish with more of a taper, because at the moment this flower, and this flower are all the same size. We want to come from this more sort of full bottom of the design around and up to a tapered point, and we can really easily achieve that by utilizing one of the littler, the smaller designs of the same thing. So we can go in with those, or we can come in with the florals from the Builder Bouquet. So offer them up, see what you prefer working with. And I think for this demonstration, I'm going to go with the Builder Bouquet, simply because Smaller one we will use within this, but it has got the leaves around. The point for the Builder Bouquet is free of leaves. So again, it tapers even further down and more sharply, if you like, but in a nice way, down to the flowers themselves. I'm not going to worry about trimming all the flowers away because that can work as texture in the background. Once again, a little bit of glue, just to reverse, and we can lift and just nestle that little flower in like so. So now you see you're getting that taper like so. These areas now need to be made sense of because at the moment we've got this long line, we've kind of got the leaves inviting us up, but we want to taper that back in. So again, let's look to our flowers of what we'd like to create with and fill in these little areas like so. The best way of doing that, if you've introduced other colours, is mirror the colours you've introduced by having them at other parts of the bouquet. Again, it just makes sense of the bouquet itself. So here we've got these lovely pink flowers going on. We can repeat those on this side, perhaps with the Builder Bouquet elements, just like so, to introduce those and have that lovely curve coming up and around to the side. To do that, I am just going to come in and trim away this little leaf, just using the scissors as you've seen before, taking away those little pips between the bridges of the paper, and again just neatening it up by taking that little section away from in between those petals as well. Shape each one and then look to where we want placement. Do we want it in the foreground? Do we want it behind? I think I want more prominence on the white, so let's go in with our glue gel and place these in the background. And this is why I say I do prefer working with the gel, because we can lift that previous layer and just slot these little florals in like so. Now you're kind of building up more of the idea that these are kind of a vine of beautiful florals coming up the side. You see how we've shaped that out to one side like so. Let's repeat that without knocking too much of our design on the other side. And again, this time I feel like we want to even up with a little bit more white. So it could be that I come in with the Builder Bouquet, but actually it might make more sense to come in with a few of the larger size florals as well. Just looking to what I've got, I think let's go in with a couple of these, because it might be that I can come in and use the leaves as we discussed, just tapering that design out and giving you more curve to the edge as well. Really, when it comes to bouquets and things like that, it is lovely. It's a lovely way to lose yourself for a couple of hours in the process of making these. Look to bouquets from florists and things like that, because that gives you a really good indicator of how we might utilise different flowers with one another. We mentioned how this is the flower of the month for this month, so the Clematis. We could absolutely look at bringing in previous flowers of the month. This would work so beautifully with things like the Bell Rose collection, for example, the Sweet Pea, and even the Iris that you've seen from previous months as well. Just trimming in around the petals as well, just shaping out the leaves and the petals and things like that. I'm going to tuck that right in behind that foreground. Now what's quite nice is to have that play between the flowers where the petals are kind of overlapping other areas of your design. That's quite sweet. We need a little bit more here, just again to taper that round. And I do think a little bit of pink would work nicely, or even this more sort of red colour we've got going onto the foreground to bring that all together. So again, just looking to what I've got to play with to hand. I think maybe some of those would work quite nicely. Just taking sections of those. So rather than just using the die completely as is, you have so much more creative control. If you want to come in and snip away elements, just use sections of the flower. Just use one flower if you wanted to. You've got a whole host of different blooms to decide from with each one of these die cuts as well. And that's going to add in more colour like so. And I think playing with that idea of having the flowers overlapping one another is quite fun as well. So let's just use our glue and stick those elements in place as well. Just sliding those between the petals and tapering in. Now that's looking quite full, that's looking quite fun. Again, something a little bit different, but I do feel we are losing a little bit of green, especially in this section. You want to look to your areas and think, okay, what do I need to mirror? What do I need to extend? So let's see what we've got. That little leaf is the right direction to come in. let's just trim him round, and we can tuck those behind the areas. If we just twist and fold, that can then just slot in nicely like so. Again, not obvious, but it adds in that little pop of colour. And I do feel if you're kind of going leaf, 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 we need something green just up here, just a small kind of leaf design, just to add in a little bit of detailing. So again, looking to what I've got to cut, let's trim away just a section. And this is what I mean, you don't ever waste anything. Everything can then be utilised and come in as well. That's going to be placed nicely there. Just twisting and turning it for a little bit of detailing, and let's go in like so. So there we've got the main bulk of our floral display done, but we've still got even more embellishment we could add if we wanted to. Of course, as we've mentioned, if you want to, you can scale this down and have it on a smaller kind of concept, but these same ideas of lifting and tucking and adding in detail can be utilised on whatever size or whatever shape as you've seen. Perhaps this would be a wreath as well if you wanted. The Builder Bouquet offers you these more sort of streamlined flowers, these little buds as well. It further tells the story of the different sort of growth cycles of these beautiful flowers, and just gives you a little chance to add little stems of green across expanses of colour to break that colour up a little bit. So they're really, really handy. Let's grab a couple of those in the different colourways as well. Just a few little white ones. Again, just a little selection. I'm not being too precious over which ones I'm using. Everything can then work together beautifully. Whatever we're going to use, we are going to shape. And again, just for a point of kind of reference, just as we've done in the beginning, it's nice to start from the bottom and travel up the side of the florals here. So again, just choosing which colour would work nicely within here. Yes, it's not obvious when we come to stick these in place, but actually that's quite nice because that means it's going to work beautifully and seamlessly within the design. I'm going to switch over to my bookbinding glue, my Pinflair bookbinding glue, just unfurling the nozzle there. I'm going to have a little bit out on my mat, and I'm going to be using my glue applicator because we're working on something ever so fine with this little stalk here. You want something to get in right into the detailing. And then we can look to areas where we have got openings where we could add in just little stalks and things, just as a point of difference. These are great for filling those little negative spaces, like here you want a little bit of detailing. Something like your red little florals, your little buds and things would work spectacularly in here. Just squidging those down and having them come out. So you're getting the more sort of a refined edge. You're just breaking up that line of the florals there as well. We don't want to go overboard. We're not going to add too many. It's just a few to give you that little hint of detailing with these. Just using that glue applicator along the bottom of the stem, and then looking for an area where we can come in and just stagger these wonderful little buds. It doesn't matter if they crisscross the other flowers, that's perfect. That's how they would be in a real bouquet. Let's look to the florals as well. I think something with more of a pinky finish might go quite well just behind those little buds. So again, a little bit of glue, both back and front on this one because we're sticking it to the foreground and the background at the same time. Lifting and following that same line of where the buds were tucked in, but having just a little point of difference with that floral. Maybe we want to come in here as well with a different shaped flower. This one I will use the glue gel on. And again, using those leaves and things just to tuck that down and into the background. And I think let's utilise this area up here. Let's make a little shape, a little feature of these little buds as like a little sprig, as a little breakaway area. Just like so. So just offering it up, seeing where we want it to lay, adding in that little bit of glue, and then just tucking the stem down into the bouquet itself. It's just getting cooled a little bit, so let's bend that stem down. Encourage it in. If it doesn't want to go, that's no problem. We can always trim it down and come at it just like so, giving you just a little bit of detailing. Now, this little area here needs a little bit of attention because we've got one stalk that's kind of hidden. We want it to follow the same kind of vein, so we can just nudge in that little stalk along, just make more sense like it's coming from the same sort of area as the buds there, and use our pokey tool just to hold that in place while it grips. Again, take a little step back, have a little look. I can think, okay, what else do I need? Is there anywhere else where I need to mirror this kind of feel so it balances the piece? And I think we can do that just down here in this area as well. So let's go in with one of our florals. Again, we're not going to overload it. We're not going to go too crazy, but we just need something to break away from the full look of the bouquet, but something that then just enhances it. Again, I'm twisting and turning this one so it's coming out at the same point as these little buds. And let's go in with this sort of rich pink colour over the top as well. And this one, let's go in with our bookbinding glue just on the stem. Follow the line of the last one that we laid down, just like so, to finish. So you've got that mirroring, you've got the details both sides, you've got this wonderful full concept of a full bouquet, taking that one size and being able to extend it by snipping into it, adding in that builder bouquet and a smaller design as well to create a really full and lovely bouquet that you could then use if you wanted to scale it down on the front of a card. Perhaps it's going to be a home decor project, or as we've seen from the design team, maybe you're going to utilize this with a little bit of construction acetate on the back to create full bouquet sculptural looks and effects too. Let's take a look at just some more of these details. We mentioned sort of home decor pieces. What about creating them with a little frame around? You know, the three-dimensional frames, you could use this workshop that we've just done, pop a frame around it, and you've got a finished artwork piece that would look beautiful in your home. Or employ the same concepts that we've just done in building that whole bouquet and have it in perhaps one of our foundation vases, perhaps one of our foundation plant pots, or maybe even one of the wonderful little buckets from the Wishing Well Lane collection. So here is the same sort of thing. Rather than taking a long line design that we did in this workshop, we're spreading it out across the shape of the bucket, having a few of the little florals and the builder bouquet trailing down the front to give you that full effect from this Clematis design as well. Thank you very much for joining us for today's workshop featuring the flower of the month, the Clematis. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also hit that notify button if you're watching us on YouTube to be informed of all the latest videos and educational content here at Two Red Robins. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you click the like button, subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below, and click the bell icon to receive notifications of all of our future content. You can also click here to see our latest video, or click here to see more videos like this one.